I thought I lost the bottle cap. It's Comics and Shots, a completely improvised semi-comedic music by Howard Stern's Mick the Nerd, aka YouTube and TikTok's Mick the Man, aka Mick the Maverick, aka a guy who thought a battery was the solution. Today's subject: Lobo's Cancellation Special, and the subject of anti-heroes in modern fiction. Both comedic and serious. Lobo Cancellation Special is an absolutely fun, fantastic ride. It is full of the gore that you expect from like the classic era from the 90s. Lobo just absolutely decimating aliens, just ripping them apart here and there, being in like the regenerating degenerate before Deadpool even existed. Some people even say Lobo was Deadpool before Deadpool. Some people also say that about She-Hulk, and I don't disagree with them. It's a really fun book, but one thing that they change up a little bit in terms of lore, in terms of Lobo's origin, they give him a little bit of a sympatheticness, where there's a point where you're supposed to feel bad for Lobo, and it seems like Lobo actually feels. Which is weird for hardcore Lobo fans, because in the original comics, he's kind of a full-on sociopath. Like, for real. He straight up killed his entire planet for a frickin' school, project. Just to feel special, essentially. And now they're trying to make us feel sad for the guy and show him that he has some semblance of a heart and everything. And I feel that that's symptomatic of the changing of the anti-hero as decades went on. The comic book anti-hero. Think of the character that Lobo is a direct parody of, the Punisher. When the Punisher first arrived, he was originally a more pragmatic, vigilante character. So he would try to kill his enemies, but if convinced there was another way, he would, back off. It's like Spider-Man says, "No, we don't have to kill." And Punisher's like, "Okay." And then we would flash forward to, the 80s, where Punisher would just start to get a little more murdery. Punisher doesn't have much in terms of a full-on rogues gallery, as he straight up kills most of his bad guys. Yeah. And, that was pretty cool for the 80s. That was, the start of the gritty anti-hero era. And it was really cool for a while. But here's the thing. The thing about comic books, pop culture in general, if something is popular, you will milk it into the ground. You just gotta. That's just the nature of the beast. Milk it, milk it, milk it, milk it, milk it. And with Punisher, that just came with upping the ante of how, violent and brutal he would get. To the point where it's like, okay, can we really call him an anti-hero or just a nutcase? In fact, in Garth Ennis's run, he kind of is implied to be a sociopath. Actually, I think he is straight up said to be a sociopath in that one. Many people feel the Garth Ennis book is both the best thing to happen to Punisher and the worst thing, as it kind of changes the reason for why he becomes who he is. Flash forward even more to more recent times, he becomes a full-on supervillain, leader of the Hand, gets superpowers, resurrects his wife to say, "Hey, look what I did." His wife's appalled, and now he's into hiding, and some other guy's being the Punisher for some reason. We went from pragmatic anti-hero to somewhat bloody anti-hero to sociopathic anti-hero to supervillain. And, he's not the only character that's happened to. Amanda Waller, for example, originally a morally gray anti-villain, but saying the Ostrander run, there was a method to her madness. It actually made sense. She wasn't a complete sociopath. She just, pick and choose her morals. But much like Punisher, they kept upping the ante, and then she ended up just going from anti-villain to anti-hero to full-on supervillain in absolute power. And with that, I've noticed, in terms of mass pop culture, there aren't that many traditional anti-heroes from the 80s. Like for the traditional 80s style anti-hero. And that I'm calling the 80s traditional. Yeah, it was 40 years ago. Oh crap, the 80s is 40 years ago. I remember when I was a kid and it was only like 20 years ago. Ugh, weird. Yeah, and it's not as much of a thing anymore. People want more moral nuance. People want characters they can relate to, characters they can criticize, characters that evolve. And with characters like Lobo, for example, he's a parody of that. He is a gut bucket, kill 'em all anti-hero made for laughs. And even that version of anti-hero isn't written as much anymore. Even in comedy, people want character development these days. It's sadly become a little bit outdated. You think we're ever gonna get another Milk and Cheese anytime? I don't think so. Like, if Evan Dorkin makes it, like, I hope they're still the same angry little douchebags we know and love. Fun fact, that comic was originally optioned for an animated series. Made for children. The producers never read the comic book. Oh boy. Yeah. Yeah, it just feels like it's something that's fallen to the wayside almost. The anti-hero. Both the bloody anti-hero. Both the comedic versions and the traditional. Where, due to the nature of excess, it feels like they've stopped being what they used to be. Especially the Punisher. Lobo, it's like so many writers just write him a little too silly at times. You know? Like a cancellation special, that's a rare exception. Very good. I love it. Yeah. Deadpool, pretty much Deadpool, but let's get real here. He's more of a superhero these days, even if he is an assassin. And he's gonna be popular till the day we die. Deadpool is weirdly enough a more balanced version. It's kind of like the hologram of Punisher and Lobo, if you think about it. He's, despite being completely chaotic, he's a weirdly more balanced character. Primarily because he had shame about who he was, what he was doing from the get-go, whereas Punisher, like, was fully justified in his mind and what he did, while as Lobo, he didn't give a shit. Yeah. I feel like that's, like, and that's just, while I love Lobo, while I love classic 80s Punisher, anti-heroes like Deadpool, who are a little more slightly aware of themselves despite being agents of chaos, are just a little more popular these days, and that's just the way it is. Sometimes things change, attracting forces come and go, and sometimes things that were popular back in the day are just not as popular as they could be today. Will that be the same in the future? I don't know. I would personally like to see a new Lobo series that's just absolutely violent and just him being like a crazy sociopath, murderous sociopath for laughs and money, but I don't know if anyone is talented enough to do that full time, at least for a one-shot. Most writers these days just love moral nuance. Like, to the nth degree. It's all nuance. Everybody's nuance these days. And that's good, but there's an argument for nice, simple characters as well. Not saying either is good, not saying either is bad. I'm just saying it's change. Things have changed, and that's okay. Doesn't make the stories I liked back when I read them any less the stories I read. It doesn't mean we can't bring them back in new ways, but still try to keep some of the spirit of what made them good. I hope we can just find new stories either way. Be with old characters or new. With that, like, comment, and subscribe. Donate if you're feeling nice. Share it with a bear. And always remember, praise be to the blood elk, fear the stabopotamus, and death to Kronos. Seriously, it was the starter. We probably needed to change the battery anyway. I mean, it's winter. But, you know. Have a night, folks.